there. And yeah, and just letting everyone know that this presentation is getting recorded. So if you don't want your screen shared or your face shown, just black it out. But yeah, thank you so much for having us, Heather. This program has been really only made possible through this amazing coalition of partners that we have. We also have some great people on the call tonight too, who are from the Soil and Water Conservation District, who have been really instrumental in Nassau County in getting this program off the ground. It's Eric Swenson, Derek Betts, Justin Jobin, and Olivia Caldara are all on here tonight and can also answer. They might get called on to answer some questions on the spot. So with that, I will get started. Just like to start off with why do we care about nitrogen pollution? Nitrogen is really everywhere and is one of the most abundant elements on Earth. More than 78% of our atmosphere is an unreactive nitrogen gas. In the nitrogen cycle, there are also other compounds like nitrate and ammonia, and those are the ones that we really focus on. They're found in soil and water, and they are essential for plants to grow. However, there's always too much of a good thing, and excess nitrogen that's been added to the nitrogen cycle from humans, such as fertilizer, livestock, wastewater, excrement, really has all been throwing the system off balance. And this excess nitrogen in the soil and water, it travels to our bays and harbors and causes a lot of damage. On Long Island, excess nitrogen in our water has been responsible for fish kills, seaweed overgrowth, and ultimately triggering harmful algal blooms. And these toxic harmful algal blooms cause so many beach closures that we experience each year. So in Nassau County, we also need to be really sensitive about our drinking water. We sit directly on top of a sole source deep aquifer that is what Nassau County relies on to drink water. So the excess nitrogen, as well as other pharmaceuticals and contaminants of concern, contaminate our drinking water in our aquifers. Here we have a map that was produced by the organization Save the Sound. It outlines the current health of our bays and harbors, and it determines the health of each bay and harbor based off of indicators such as dissolved organic carbon, dissolved oxygen, water clarity, chlorophyll, seaweed, oxygen saturation, and gives rankings based off of those indicators to each one of the individual bays and harbors. And as you can see, a lot of bays and harbors on the North Shore are not doing well. A lot of them have like D's and F's ratings. So it's not good. And as climate change progresses and there's going to be warmer waters, we can really anticipate an increased frequency of harmful algal blooms. And it's a really serious issue, and it's why we need to tackle nitrogen pollution now, because it's only going to get worse. And the longer we wait to fix it, the more expensive this problem will become. On the North Shore, nitrogen pollution comes from a variety of sources. This is data that was based off of modeling done by SUNY Stony Brook. It was really formerly thought that nitrogen pollution came from sewage treatment plants and fertilizer runoff. And a lot of really good work was done to mitigate this issue, but it wasn't really making a dent in the harmful algal blooms and the fish kills and all the other things that are happening as a result of nitrogen pollution. So environmental groups had to go back to the drawing board, and they eventually found that septic systems were the #1 cause of nitrogen pollution in Nassau and Suffolk County. They make up between 50 and 60% of nitrogen pollution in Nassau, and even more, contribute even more in Suffolk County. And using this same modeling study, we are able to predict just how much nitrogen needed to be reduced in order to hit our water quality goals for clear water that are outlined by the EPA. And you can see here, we have a couple different watersheds. Each one is represented by a different color, and each color shows the degree of nitrogen that needs to be reduced in order to hit those clear water targets. You can see Cold Spring Harbor needs the most nitrogen reduction, and Hempstead Harbor needs the least amount of nitrogen reduction. The black dots show the approximate septic tank location, and the blue striped areas, these show, sorry, they show the septic or the current sewered areas along the North Shore. And based off of the nitrogen reduction targets, the North Shore of Nassau County would need to upgrade or replace 17,000 septic tanks in order to hit those nitrogen reduction goals. So it is a big issue, but we do have a good solution. We can reduce our nitrogen by swapping conventional septic systems with innovative, advanced, or clean water septic technology. And just like to say that IA or Innovative Advanced, it's not really advanced anymore. These systems have been around for decades and are rigorously tested across the world and been proven to be incredibly effective at reducing nitrogen. Conventional septic systems work by wastewater flows into a septic tank. That wastewater is, the solids are settled down at the bottom of the septic tank, and then the untreated wastewater flows into a leaching pool or a concrete cesspool, which are those big concrete blocks that you probably have in your backyard, and then flow into groundwater, and then eventually surface water, which acts as the excess nitrogen, acts as fuel for plants and algae, and triggering harmful algal blooms and excess seaweed. The Iaseptic systems work similar to a septic tank setup, but they add a biological processing component, which converts the liquid nitrate and ammonia into a harmless N2 gas, which makes up 78% of the atmosphere. And it's totally unreactive, so it's just harnessing natural processes that happen every day in the earth. And these Iaseptic systems are very effective, and they can reduce up to 70% or 90% of nitrogen from wastewater if you have an Iaseptic system plus a leaching field. And clean water technology is really valuable, not just to the environment, but to the homeowner as well. These septic systems last long, they're made out of durable materials, they can improve the property value, and they're a lot less maintenance, especially if you currently have a septic tank or cesspool and you need to get it pumped several times a year. That's going to be incredibly expensive. A lot of times septic tanks can collapse in your backyard, so they can be very dangerous. But these Iaseptic systems really provide a lot of peace of mind to the homeowner. And here is just a video from one of the first septic tank installations that was done in Nassau County in Seacliff, New York. This is a FujiClean system that was installed by Advanced Wastewater Solutions, and the homeowner was extremely happy with how it turned out, and she's very happy that she has a functioning septic tank in her home. But this is, they're super lightweight. They're made out of fiberglass, and they can be really easily taken by a crane and put into the hole. And yeah, it's a straightforward installation. On average, these septic systems cost about $20,000. This is the average in Suffolk County. However, these costs can fluctuate on a case-by-case basis, depending on the site constraints and if there's any unexpected challenges in your property. Fortunately, even though these septic tanks are expensive, there is funding in both Suffolk and Nassau County In Nassau County, in May of this year, they launched their septic program. It's Septic Environmental Program to Improve Cleanliness. And it was initially homeowners could receive $10,000, but they were able to successfully secure additional money from the American Rescue Plan. And now homeowners and small business owners can be eligible for up to $20,000 to replace their septic system. And that's the same for Suffolk County. You can get more money in Suffolk County, but I'm really going to talk more about Nassau County septic program. And if you want to learn more about the Reclaim Our Water program, just go to www.reclaimourwater.info. And now I'm going to really walk everyone through the process of receiving a grant and installing an Iaseptic system in Nassau County. Again, this program is administered by Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District. And this is a graphic from the program. The team at the Soil and Water Conservation District, I can't emphasize enough, has done really just a phenomenal job getting this program going. And they are incredibly knowledgeable and they're super helpful. And if you have any questions, they get back to you really quickly. And it's just a really great program that they have developed. So the first step of this program is accessing the website. The program website is nassaucountiny.gov. Sorry, it's really small. .gov -5191 Nassau septic. And I can put that link in the chat so people can see that again too. But this is the main web page of the program. There is a ton of good information on here. But the first step is really reading through all this information, checking the eligibility, make sure that you fit the basic eligibility requirements, read up on the frequently asked questions, and also check to make sure your home is not in an area that's sewered, because if it is in a sewered area, then it is likely that it needs to be connected to the sewer and you wouldn't qualify for an Iaseptic system. And once you do all that, you can click right here to apply here, and it will bring you to a application portal, which looks like this. Again, it's really small, sorry. And you fill out basically just your basic information, your property information, and then it's not required, but you can also put in information about your current septic system and your proposed septic system, and just some information about your property. Once you go through all that, you submit this application, and then you'll receive a email from the Soil and Water Conservation District saying that your application has been received and it is under review. At that time, just fixing this. At that time, Nassau County will review your application and determine if you qualify based on eligibility requirements. Those eligibility requirements include must be a single family, two family, not-for-profit, or small business with an existing sanitary design flow less than or equal to 1,000 gallons per day. That's in layman's term, that's a pretty big septic tank. And a lot of homes don't exceed that 1,000 gallon per day septic size. The project must be a replacement of the existing septic system or a cesspool, and you must put in an Iaseptic system. You must have a valid certificate of occupancy, and you cannot be connected to a public or private sewer. Again, you can check that on the website, and you must not have any outstanding or open real property tax liens. Once you're accepted into the program, your application, you'll receive a provisional grant agreement. The provisional grant agreement will state that you will receive a grant award provided that you meet all the requirements that are outlined by the program. And then you sign that, you give it back to the Soil and Water Conservation District, and then you can really start all the fun things. So the property owner can now begin creating design plans with a design professional, either a professional engineer or a registered architect, who will assess your home and look at the site conditions and determine what type of Iaseptic system and leaching system is best suited for you. In Nassau County, you can, in order to be eligible for the program, you can only use one of 6 Iaseptic systems. These have all been rigorously tested across Long Island and are certified for use. You can also double check these septic systems. This is all on the website, but these are what the main ones look like. We have the Arenco system, the Fuji Clean system. That's the one that you saw in the video before. A Norrico system, the Septic Star, and a Hydro Action. Once you select your septic system, you will work with a contractor who will be the person installing the septic system for you. And once you have that in order, you will also submit a building permit with your local municipality, either a village or a town. Municipalities will be looking to see that your application has a code compliant design plan, and the installer, whoever you choose to install, has the appropriate licenses and insurances as dictated by the village and the county. You'll then submit those all those permits and documents back to the Soil and Water Conservation District, and they will decide and let you know if you are good to install your septic system. And at this point too, you'll also be able to decide an assignment of payment. You can either do a direct reimbursement where you put the money up front and the county reimburses you directly, or you can do a you can have the money go directly to the installer, so you don't have to put the money up front and out of pocket, because it can be a big expense out of pocket. And then you're good to go. You get your septic system installed. You have a working septic system. It gets inspected. And whatever remaining paperwork is left, you submit it back to the Soil and Water Conservation District. They review your documentation and process it, and then you get your payment. So that is what the process looks like. And there are a couple of steps, but the Soil and Water Conservation District has done a really good job of making it straightforward and organized, and it's an easy to use process for sure. So that goes back to my position. Again, the North Shore Land Alliance and the Nature Conservancy, they hired me to help homeowners and small business owners really through the process. And if they have any questions, either in both Suffolk and Nassau County, to help them through the building permit and grant application process. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can go to www.upgradeyourseptic.org, or you can also go to the Soil and Water Conservation District and reach out to them directly. And that is it. Do we have any questions?
I just want to say, if y'all aren't convinced that you need to apply for a grant, or I don't know how you're going to possibly, you convinced me, not that I wasn't convinced already, but that was a terrific presentation, and there could leave no doubt that you know, everybody needs to do this. So thank you. And I'm hoping that we have some questions.
I have one. Christine, I'm Bill Blyer. I'm president of Friends of the Bay. I live in Bayville, and I'm applied for the grant program.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
I also have some suggestions, but first the question is, the only qualms I've had going into this is, Tom Swazi has talked about trying to put infrastructure money towards sewering Bayville. I'm just wondering what you think the odds of that might be.
It's probably not likely. There's been studies that are done to sewering. It's incredibly expensive just to connect a person up to a sewer system. Like a lateral extension costs like $100,000. And unless if there is a massive surge of money that's going to it, to the program, it's really unlikely that any sewering projects massive sewering projects are going to be taking place. I don't know if Eric has more to add to that. I just saw he unmuted.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first phase, if that does happen, would be to connect the the Stands area of Bayville, the business district, which could connect to the existing line that right now runs to the Glen Cove sewage treatment plant, but to try to connect the entire village would be a total revamp of everything and much, much more expensive. But I did want to point out that with the current funding that the county has for the grant program, it's enough to fund 200 installations. And right now, I believe, Olivia can correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have 117 applications in process that we may be able to get some further funds down the road. But right now, if you are interested, you really should, apply now and get on the list. Once those 200 applications are in, then we will start a waiting list. And then hopefully other funds will come through. So it's been incredibly, fast moving since we announced the program in May. So if you are interested, I strongly suggest that you get your application in.
Kat, would you mind putting that link in there? I mean, the website in the chat for anybody who didn't pick up on that.
Let me add that right now.
It is also fairly easy. If you just Google Nassau County Septic Program, you'll find the link.
The other thing is just, I don't know if there's anybody else from Bayville on here, but a couple of things that I found that along the way might be worth sharing is apparently of all the systems available, only Fuji has no working parts below the ground levels. So if you live by the sound like I do, it became really the only feasible option because when I was talking to my engineer architect, he said, if you have flooding, it's going to basically fry the system. So, I'm going with the Fuji because the working air pump is above ground level and there's nothing mechanical, electrical underground. So that seemed to be the only logical choice for me and anybody along the shore. The other thing which I've suggested to Eric, who's been my sort of guru on this, and I've talked to Olivia about it, is what I did is sort of follow the suggested process, which is identify an engineer, bring him in and then go to the contractor. But I think since at least in my case, I had to pay the engineer $500 to come and look at the property and give me a ballpark idea. And then the contractors will come for free and give you an estimate. I would have done it the other way around. In hindsight, I would have had the contractor come and say, everything looks good. Or in my case, he said I didn't have property. I didn't have the room for the the circular concrete ring, which would have killed it. But then the engineer said, well, no, we can just connect this Fuji system to your existing cinder blocks, old cesspool. So if I had stopped, it sort of cuts both ways. If I had gone to the engineer for the contractor first, I might have said, okay, I'm out of the ballpark, but at least I could have talked to the engineer and he would have said what he said. But if somebody's going to hit a roadblock, it'd be nice to find out without laying out $500.
Yeah, I definitely always recommend people to get like multiple opinions because there are a lot of different professionals involved, and getting an engineer or the septic installer. It's definitely good to hear because it's from two different groups.
Yeah, one more thing for Bayville is if anybody's thinking about it, the village and the building inspector particularly are extremely supportive of the program to the point where they're saying if it physically fits in the ground, that's all they want to know. They don't care about leaching fields, all the normal, hurdles you would have to do anywhere else. Bayville is basically dispensing that and saying, if it fits, you pay $50 and you get a permit, and they're happy.
Yeah, and I mean,
sorry.
No, you go, Janet. What was your question?
So I have a question. I live in Huntington, so I'm lucky enough to have in a neighborhood that's part sewer and part cesspool. I happen to be on the sewer line, which I'm happy about. I also do have a home in the Adirondack Park in upstate New York, which is a very environmentally sensitive area. And it's on my list this spring to do a well and a septic because I'm having some construction done. And this system seems much more state of the art than some of the things we have up there. Are they using these systems and are they available in other parts of the country?
Yeah, they are used like all over the world. I would have to double check what the market is like in the Adirondacks. I
Mhm.
think Justin probably has a good answer for that though.
I have a question
Yeah.
too, just, I don't know.
Justin, are you up in that neck of the woods?
I'm working on some projects upstate, but they are using ETUs, they call them, so that they use a different name, but it's essentially the same system. Are you on any freshwater bodies or in a contributing area?
I am. I'm in a very small lake, but I'm above the lake. So we have lots of rules about how far septic can be from other people's wells and your own wells and all of that kind of stuff. So the whole excavator engineer process has to happen, but I am up the hill from the water.
So because of that, what I would recommend is a system that focuses on nitrogen and phosphorus, or at least has more of a shallow leaching that can help bind some of the phosphorus in the soil, so that you're not adding both of those nutrients, which are the key contributors to the blue-green algae. So there is, I mean, we can talk offline more. I'll put my email in the chat, but there are quite a few systems that are shown here that are used in various areas upstate. And then also I know like they do a lot with what they call bottomless peat filters, which does some stuff with phosphorus, but it's also very useful for small lots and leaching. So that's something that we're looking at adapting into Long Island potentially as well. Just to give you a quick overview, there are, from what I'm told, between upstate New York and Western Pennsylvania, there are thousands of various types of advanced treatment septic systems. And then my background is in New England, where there's over 20,000 systems basically between Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and I think technically we lumped Maryland into those numbers as well. But so they're very common, as Kat said. They're not innovative, and or they're innovative, but they're really not alternative, and they're not that innovative because they've been around for 20 plus years. These newer iterations are mainly modular, so they are very popular, and they're really growing into, like you said, into the Adirondack areas. And you can check with the county because they should have, the county may be participating in this program as well. This is a $75 million statewide program, $15 million a year. That's made, and out of that, the bulk of the money does come to Long Island, 11 out of 15, but the other counties do have some money up to $10,000. So you might want to check with the county and see what their program's like.
Oh, I definitely will. And someone mentioned something about not having to pump the tanks. Did I hear that properly?
You go,
Sorry,
Justin.
you sure? So with these tanks, every system needs maintenance. It's essentially another household utility. It's no longer buried in the backyard, a set and forget thing. The traditional way of dealing with your septic is you only pump it when you have a problem, and it's usually at an inopportune time, like a holiday or when you're having 4th of July cookout or something.
Of course.
These systems do require routine maintenance, and they're based on the type of system. They have different septic compartment volumes. So some may need to be pumped out more often than others, but the overall point is that somebody's out there looking at the system every 6 to 12 months, measuring your solids in the tank and tweaking the system for optimal performance, so that you don't have that emergency pump out on the 4th of July. But it doesn't mean that you don't need pumping. But I will say over 80% of the solids in a septic tank, in a conventional septic tank, break down naturally over time. So it's only that 20% that builds up that you're pumping out. So in the first year, you might see more solids, and then into years 2 and 3, those solids will start to break down. So that's one thing to monitor. But all systems, the solids will eventually need to be pumped out and need to be maintained. The other question that comes up along those lines is how much is the maintenance on these systems and what does it entail? Each system is different, but typically the maintenance is between $300 and $400 a year. And some of the companies include pumping because a lot of these, as I mentioned, 80% of the solids will break down in a conventional system. Because you're adding so much oxygen to these systems, you're getting more than 80% breaking down. So they really just monitor that and make sure the systems are working, and you will have to pump out less. The other thing is if something goes wrong, you're replacing a component. Bill mentioned the FujiClean system doesn't have any submerged parts. If something goes wrong with that, you're replacing a blower. Hydro Action system, they use a similar blower. They also have a recirculation pump in the tank itself. Both of those are fairly inexpensive. So if something goes wrong, chances are you're replacing a component that's less than $1,000. I know for the Fuji blower to rebuild it, it's $150. So you're not ripping up the system because the leach field's clogged, because the water, the effluent's very clean. So that's all. I'm not going to ramble on.
Thank you so much, Justin. Yes, I'd love to connect with you offline. Thank you.
And
I just
Janet,
wanted
if
to
you-
add that as part of one of the conditions of receiving these grants is that you are required to every year have an inspection and maintenance contract so that they are always maintained. And if you neglect to do that, you can be made to give the grant money back.
I have a question on taxes. I heard that folks out in Suffolk were a little surprised that with the grants were actually getting taxed. Is that?
Yeah, right now they are considered taxable income in Suffolk County, but there is legislation that we hope will get passed this December as a part of the Build America Back Better plan that will hopefully get rid of that 1099 ruling. So hopefully by December that will that issue will be resolved.
That's
But
a
yeah,
good
it's
question,
definitely
though.
not a fair tax.
And
people
Janet,
trying to do the
Justin
right
put
thing.
his email address in the chat, Janet, if you want to follow up with him.
I see it there. Thank you very much.
And Janet, you can check that link too. It has the participating.
Oh, I see that
counties.
right there. Great. Yeah, I'm in Washington County, so I can call them as well and see what they're doing. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I grew up in Bayville. I'm in Oyster Bay now, so I have sewers, but still have a home in Bayville. So almost everybody in Bayville has a cesspool. And did you say that there's only funding for about 200 of these systems? And you've already got tons of applications.
Yeah, at the moment there's 200 applications available, but right now it's I just recommend just go onto the website right now and submit an application and get your foot in the door.
Pat,
There's been
can I-
117 applications received, correct? That are in process, or that's how many you've received? 117 out of 200.
But basically everybody in Bayville, it would be nice if everybody could do this so that the sound would be cleaner, right? Do you think that any of the infrastructure money might go towards something like this?
That's a
That's
very
not-
good possibility. There are the program that was started in Nassau County with state funds, which is, as Justin mentioned, is a multi-year program. So if everybody, those 200 applications are processed this year, we stand a good chance to get more state money next year. And the matching funds that came from the federal government as part of the stimulus package were from the county's allocation that was paid this year, and that was the first half. So the county is going to get a similar pot of money next year that's used for a number of different things. So it's possible that the county may again appropriate some more of that federal money next year if we also get state money. So that will probably only happen if we can show that the funding that was allocated already is exhausted or near exhausted. So that's another reason for everybody to apply, because we may be able to do another 200 next year. And there are, in that federal infrastructure bill, there is a lot of money for wastewater and sewer and water infrastructure. So it is a possibility that could, be applied.
Right.
Oh,
So Betsy,
that's
if you,
great.
whoever you know in Bayville, just knock on their
Oh,
doors.
I
You have
will.
neighbors, just tell them to apply and
Okay.
get their foot in the door. Yeah.
All right.
And I'm happy to send some more informational materials your way that you can share with your, you can look over and share with your neighbors as well.
Okay.
And Olivia from the Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District posted an interesting statistic that approximately 25% of the applicants right now are residents of Bayville. So that's interesting, and that's good. Of course, we want even more. So Betsy, it's on you.
I will tell everyone.
And if a number of neighbors get together, you may be able to get a good discount from an installer. 'Cause
That's a really
yeah.
good point.
they've already got all the equipment there, and they could do one after the other.
That's
Yeah,
a great idea.
My contractor has already said we could do that. Unfortunately, out of the 20-something homes on my block association, which I'm stuck being president for, right now only 2 people want to do this because they don't want to shell out anything over 20,000, and there's always that chance it's going to be over 20,000. So, it's
Right.
it's not an easy sell.
I think we've seen that when a neighborhood, like if one person gets a septic tank or one of the Iaseptic systems, they kind of like fall like dominoes. Like next person, your neighbor might see it and they're like, oh, what's going on? Like, and you can talk them through the process, and it just kind of spreads the word, and one after the other will keep going. But
Yeah, I'm waiting for the estimate from the contractor. If the whole thing comes in under 20, then I think a lot of my neighbors might get excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also a good thing to talk about at yours, if you have an association meeting or something like that, to spread the word and educate them. It's just, it's a thing that, people, it sounds complicated, it sounds expensive, but in the end, it's long-term. So, I mean, I grew up in Muttontown having cesspools, and I just remember again them collapsing at inopportune times and being pumped and all these things. And I think that you value it more if you've had to deal with cesspools for a long time.
Well, I also think it's important to note that if you get the grant, a $20,000 grant, and you only have to pay a couple $1,000s out of pocket, that's probably going to be cheaper than replacing your current septic system with another cesspool or conventional septic system. So
Absolutely.
it actually is more of a deal to get if you go through the reimbursement process, provided that you don't have a really complicated site with extenuating circumstances.
I mean, the fact that Bayville is letting me and anybody else connect to an old cinder block leaching pool or whatever they call it, is going to really drop the price, which I think is going to make it attractive for people, because the contractor's saying, oh, you have an old, when they pull the manhole up, they said, oh, you have an old cinder block system, we can't use that. But then the engineer said, we can probably get a waiver, and the building inspector said that's fine, because anything's better than what's there now is their attitude.
Absolutely.
So their hope, there's a good possibility mine will come in total under 20, even with the engineering fees.
Yeah, Bayville has been lucky to have a really progressive building inspector and mayor who are really supportive of this program.
The other great thing about this program is the fact that you do have a lot of help. I mean, you have the Nassau County Soil and Water Conservation District, you have Coughlin, who's very helpful. So it's not, you're not, trying to fumble around in the dark with this. There's, plenty of support to get you through, and, very responsive people, which is, of course, very helpful.
We're here to help.
And you do, and that part of this presentation is helping, and helping educate us all. So I'm very appreciative again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much again for having us, Heather, tonight. And just
Kat, one other
spread the word.
suggestion. You should probably talk to Mayor Di Natale in Bayville and get the village. The village has not publicized this at all, which is unfortunate.
Okay.
if you, and Friends of the Bay could probably be involved in that too, but if we got the village to send something out explaining it, saying that, it's a $50 village permit, and they're going to be very lenient on letting the designs that they accept, and there's a good chance you can do the whole thing within the grant limits. I think you might get a lot more interest in Bayville.
Sure,
But,
absolutely. That's a great suggestion. Mary is Bob's, DiNatale's, are they related or?
Mayor DiNatale, same guy.
Oh, Mary. Oh, I thought you said Mary. I thought you said Mary DiNatale.
The mayor is Bob
I was like, who's
DiNatale.
Mary?
And I have a good relationship with him. And if you guys wanted to, like we could maybe do a Friends of the Bay. And,
Well, actually, what the Bayville
same with
Library
you.
also offers presentations, and they have, it's not as if we sent out word to everybody about this. So the Bayville Library might be a good resource, because I know the Protection Committee has, for the Shellfish Gardening Program, has given presentations via the library, and that might be a way to get to people that we can't get to.
Yeah, well, Heather, you might even, if Kat, you're amenable, Heather has a good relationship with the mayor, maybe you can say, could we supply something, some kind of fact sheet or something that the
For
village
sure.
could actually send out?
We're planning on sending a mail flyer out in the next couple of weeks to Bayville residents too. So check your mailboxes too
Okay.
for more
Well,
information.
we'd be happy
But
to
yeah,
help
definitely.
if that makes it easier.
Yeah, and we'll definitely coordinate with Mayor DiNatale.
Bayville is one of the prime target areas because of its very high water table and quick time between getting water table and getting into the waterways.
And that map with all the black dots on it in Bayville is pretty compelling too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most dense neighborhoods and on the North Shore.
But yeah, I
It's right on
think
the water.
the village could probably sponsor a meeting at Village Hall or at the library as well.
We will make it happen, Kat.
Yes, we appreciate the support. It's just getting the word out and getting more people to apply. But again, the initial application, like it couldn't be easier. So just look through and see if you qualify, you meet those basic eligibility requirements, and send an application towards the Soil and Water Conservation District. And Olivia and Derek and Eric will will look at it.
Pat, I'm just wondering if there's a homeowners association where there are like multiple people that are interested, can you do a similar type presentation for them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm just on their own.
Good idea.
We could definitely do that.
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind that this presentation is recorded, so that they could watch
Yeah,
that through Friends of the Bay.
that's helpful too. Yeah, because I live in a association. We're like right above a hill on Huntington Harbor, and we all have septic tanks up here. So yeah.
Actually, that's a good point, Eric. This is being recorded, so you could share it, Christine, with your homeowners group.
Right, and if it's in Huntington, do that would be through Suffolk County's program, so it would be a little bit different too.
That's
so
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I'm always happy to do more presentations and walk people
Okay.
through it. We can always start by sending the recorded one and doing in-person meetings and Zoom presentations, whatever it works best for people.
If you want to actually meet with associations, the village could give you a whole list. And Pine Island Park, which is the biggest, is all the President Streets, and John Taylor, who's on our board, is the former president of that association. So he could, if you wanted to try to set something up with them.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
And Justin put in another link in the chat box for additional resources if people want to copy that. And Suffolk County has a website for the Reclaim Our Water program, which I know, Christine, you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I'll put that in the chat box now. Oh, Justin just added it. Okay.
But one thing that seems a little surprising is the installers are kind of laying low. Wouldn't they be interested in getting out more and promoting these systems, you know, for their own, for business sake? Or
I think it's just because it's still a new program in Nassau County.
Yeah.
I know
We
that
did
this
have
one-
that present that, oh, gosh, there goes my camera again. We did have that, now I don't remember the name of it, at Fireman's Field in Oyster Bay.
Yeah,
When
so-
we had some
Vendor day.
vendors come for that.
Yeah, we had vendor day where
Vendor
more than
day.
100 people came, and they were able to meet with the installers, the distributors of the septic systems, and the septic distributors came back to me. They're like, we're really excited about all the energy that's going on in Nassau County. And I know the Soil and Water Conservation District, they're working really closely with the distributors and the installers, and helping them learn about how these septic systems work and the best practices to install them.
Well, one of the reasons why they're probably not knocking on your door is that to be eligible for this grant, the installers have to have a Nassau County home improvement license, and they have to have insurance that's geared towards installing septic systems or sewers or excavation. So right now we've identified 13 that meet that requirement, and but not all of them are interested in doing this work. The district has put out what they call request for expressions of interest for those that do want to do the work. And when they fill that out, we do know what their prices are, and the district will publish the average prices so that when you do your shopping around, you can see how they compare to the average prices, keeping in mind that every site is a little different. Everybody's got a unique situation. But we are in the process of reaching out to others to try to get them into the system so that you have some to choose from. And the same process is basically being used for the designers. And the designers, it's probably a little easier to find designers because they don't need to have a license from the county, but they do need to be either a New York State licensed engineer or New York State licensed architect in order to provide the design for you.
Have you gotten much feedback yet on the quality of workmanship or complaints, or people are very happy with the work that they're doing?
Well, there's only been a couple that have been actually installed yet. One was just last week in Seacliff, and one was in Plandome Manor. So no complaints yet, but the best judge is really from Suffolk County, where they put hundreds of units in, some of these same companies. So Justin could probably address that more. He used to run their program.
Eric, on that list you're doing, are you going to list the contractors and which systems they work with? Because that would be useful.
Yeah, they will be listed. I'm not sure. Olivia, can you address that?
Yeah, as of now, hello guys, I'm Olivia. As of now, we have 4 installers who are actually wanting to do this work. And I do provide that list to homeowners upon request.
But does the list say, they install Fuji or they install different systems? Because my understanding was only one of those 4 is authorized by Fuji to put in Fuji systems.
I can answer that. Oops, sorry, Olivia.
No, you can go ahead. Actually, any installer is able to do this work. What happens is the manufacturer wants to be on site for the first few installations, and then they certify them. So they just want to make sure that they're doing it properly, and they come on site. So.
Yeah, but I think it would be useful for potential grant applicants when you certify somebody and say, okay, these 4 contractors are available. If you could also say that which companies have authorized them for installations, because like in my case, if I've eliminated everything but Fuji, it'd be good to know which of the contractors do Fuji.
Right. So Bill,
it would just save a lot of legwork, I think.
Yep. To address that, Bill, Olivia and I were actually talking tonight about that, and she sent me the link to all the stuff that's been received so far through the RFEI portal. And when they submit per technology. So when that's summarized, it'll be per technology. So that, and it'll be very similar to Suffolk. So they submit basically average cost, but we're still playing around with how it's all going to lay out. But the intent, I believe, is to show that these installers submitted quotes for these systems, and here's the average price of everything. So we're still working on that, but your point is well taken, and we're going to try and display it that way.
Great.
And I just do want to point out that all 4 of the installers do, they will do the Fuji, just so you know.
Okay.
Any other
Sorry.
questions? It's been a very lively conversation and a discussion, so this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great spreading the word and just letting people know that we are here to help, and this program is really hot and in demand, and there's been a lot of interest. So if you're interested, apply now, and the Soil and Water Conservation District will get back to you ASAP. But yeah, thank you again, Heather, and thank you everyone else who came on the call today. It was great talking to you guys tonight.
Yes, thank you very much, Kat, and thank you
Thank
all
you.
for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Until
thanks,
next
Heather.
time.
Thanks, Kat. It was great.
And Heather, I guess I'll get a copy of that presentation, and you guys can probably post it, and I think we'll probably post it on the North Shore Land Alliance website too.
We will definitely do that. As soon as I get the link, I'll send it to you. I'm just
Perfect.
glad that Eric reminded me to record, so it's all good. All right, so until next time, thanks again, one and all, and spread the word.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Heather. Thank you.
Bye, Kat. Thanks so
Okay.
much. Go
Yeah,
enjoy.
Yeah, have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, whatever's left, and I'll talk to you either tomorrow or next week about checking in with Bayville and everything else, and whatever else we can do to help.
Yeah, and let me know if it's I don't know, sharing the video link might be if it's like a giant link. I don't know.
I have no idea because I always forget. In fact, let me stop recording right now.
When you stop it, it'll like save it on, it'll like show up on your computer, like in a window. If maybe